So today we're going to be showing how to winterize a Grand Design Reflection 311 BHS. It has a Nautilus P1 system on it. I think a lot of manufacturers are using this P1 system, so I think this will work for not just Grand Design, but anybody that's got the Nautilus system for it. We have backed our truck up pretty close because, like a lot of people, we can't store our camper exactly at our house with power connection, so we're running on batteries. I've got the truck close by in case we run out of power today. One of the first things I did was manually level this out to try and set it to 0 using the Ground Control 3.0. You can go inside of here, cycle through, and it'll actually tell you what your angle is. And I've set my tilt to basically 0 right now. And again, just done that in manual mode because on the grass, I don't want to set all the jacks out and auto level and fool with all that. Doesn't matter how good a job you do, anytime that you've cleaned out your black and gray tanks, there's always a little bit of fluid. So I went ahead and opened up. Our system actually has 2 gray tanks and a black tank going to this guy, and then we have another black tank in the back for the back bathroom. So we've also opened that up, and a little bit of residual water has come through. I'm following the instructions that are in the manual. The Grand Design manual, it gets to the Nautilus when it looks completely different because it's a different manufacturer than Grand Design itself. So one of the first things that I did is then open up our low point drains, and most of these are going to be the 2 obvious blue and red hoses coming through, and they'll be coming through the floor down there. These, a lot of times, if you've never opened them up before, are a little hard to get off, so you might want to have an adjustable wrench just in case, because they seem to be a little tighter than needed from the manufacturer. They recommend that you set this to the power fill setting. So don't be scared. These are all your switches right here. Each one of these can turn 90 degrees. So for the instructions say to set it to power fill. So that means the white one is this way, the blue one is this way, black one's this way, red one's up, green one is to the right. So this is the way that they want this set, and then it basically is going to allow the maximum flow to get all the water out of the system. The next step is to take the drain plug out of here, and this drain plug is kind of set back with these controls around it, so that's going to be a bit of a pain. So we're actually going to pause here, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time getting this out, and then we'll rejoin you once it's out. So you can see right here, I've pulled out our drain plug out of our hot water heater, and even though I had previously pulled the low point drain in our driveway and trying to get as much of this out, until you actually pull this drain, it's not going to drain all the way out. And you can try and release the bleeder too, and that can help speed it up like that, and that'll help drain it out a little faster. But unless you actually take this plug out, you're going to be leaving water in there. And replacing one of these, if you were to, you don't want to get your antifreeze into this system actually. The whole point of when you do your winterization is that the antifreeze doesn't flow into your hot water tank right here. And you don't want that water sitting in there over the winter either. So we want to let that drain all the way out. What I'm going to do next while the video is paused is I'm actually going to push a couple slides out that'll allow me to get to I need to be able to get to every faucet inside and outside and every bathroom inside and outside. In this particular model, you can't get to the rear bathroom unless we push out the rear bedroom slide. And in order to be able to walk back there, I've got to push out one of the other slides also. So the next step is to reseal your low point lines. So I put the caps back in those down there on the blue and the red coming out. I've also closed off my black and gray drain here and my black and gray drain in the rear. And I've made sure to also push in all of the black and gray tank drain valves because we're going to be actually pushing some antifreeze through the system now. Now for those of you that were watching earlier and saw this hot water tank drain out, it just kind of goes everywhere. It goes all over this, and honestly, it's just not really a great process. And so I'd seen a little tip on one of the forums where they bought this 1/2-inch NPT to 1/2-inch NPT male-to-male adapter, and then this little bit of braided hose, and then this nice, ball bearing valve right here to allow you, like we like to use our camper in the wintertime, so sometimes we'll winterize and then need to actually take it out again, and like doing all this, especially if it's cold, could be really miserable. So I really like this idea. So this is the first time I've done it. I obviously used a lot of Teflon tape on that going in. And then this hose is real nice that it's got a rubber gasket inside that's conical. So it's conically shaped, and it does a nice fit to both of these. And on this water heater, you had to get the male-to-male NPT adapter in first before you could get this on, because it's really tight against the gas line here, but it does fit on this Grand Design model. And the idea is that when we're done, we close our ball valve, and I can see that it's closed because I see that nice shiny ball right there. And you can just tuck it inside of here and close up your lid, and then the next time you need to drain, you can just pop it out, put that valve right there. It's draining away, and it's no longer making a big mess inside of here, and you don't have to fool with it. Now, of course, if this were to ever fail or have some sort of issue, I'm not throwing the original plug in the trash by any means. I'll put this in my water bucket, and then we'll file that away. I also like how from the factory they put that nice smiley face on there for me. This is actually one of the issues I had on my previous Grand Design, is this little guy was cross-threaded from the factory. So it was one of the first things I checked, is when I dry camped, or not dry camped, but camped in my driveway camped the first time, I noticed I had a little drip coming out of here, and it was because this was cross-threaded. So I actually had to put a second one of these in already. But definitely not throwing this away in case this doesn't work or doesn't last, but thought it was a pretty neat hack, and I'm going to see how long it lasts. Next step that we're going to need to do here is actually sacrifice a little bit of hose. And the reason is that we're going to use the onboard pump to siphon our RV and marine antifreeze right here. Now, you definitely want to use RV grade antifreeze. You don't want to use automotive or anything, because this stuff is non-toxic right here. This is going into the plumbing system that you shower and drink out of. So, it's worth the $2.50 at Walmart for a gallon of it to buy the stuff that is correct for an RV. Key points are, a lot of people will set this down on the ground. The pump has to work so much harder to try and prime, and sometimes these can't prime it that hard. So you want to get it as close to the inlet source as possible so that the pump isn't having to work so hard, but you need your hose to be long enough that it's getting to the bottom of the jug. If you just have enough hose to get to the top, it's going to suck a little bit out and then stop. So what I want to do is kind of simulate where it's connected, simulate enough to get me to the bottom, and then that's where I'm going to make my cut on my hose to be able to get it down into here. So I've cut my length of hose. I've got it inserted down into my antifreeze right here, but I have definitely not turned my pump on, because next you need to set your valves again to the proper way for the Winterize settings. So it actually shows you right here, Winterize, white all the way down, blue all the way over, black stays the same, green goes up, and then red goes to the side. So that would be our Winterize setting right there. And the next thing we need to do is actually turn our pump on. The light comes on, and you can see it start to prime right here, because we actually have a little bit of liquid being sucked out. So that's how I know I've actually got a prime. So then I'll turn my hot on. And it's going to take a while for it to fill through the system, so you're potentially going to need a fair number of these jugs right here. So I'm leaving this hose open, and only the hot water line open, until I start to see pink come out. And so you can see there's still a little bit of water, and then it starts to kind of turn pink right there. And there we go, we got pink going. So I'm going to stop. And I'm going to close that line, and I'm going to open the cold up and do the same thing. There we go. Got pink coming through. And now I'm going to do the same thing on all my other lines all the way around. So you can see on these big fifth wheels here, where I've got, 2 bathrooms and a bunch of different faucets, we sucked our antifreeze out quick, and I only got it through this hose and through my outside kitchen, and this is already done. So I've turned my pump off, and now I'm going to change this bottle out. So it's pretty important to have a partner with you that's kind of watching your fluid level as it goes down, because obviously you don't want to keep dry cycling your pump, and you're going to be like, why don't I get any antifreeze out? So I'm going to get another jug out, and we're going to start this over again. So we stepped inside now, and we'll show you how this should look on the inside as well. So we're in one of our bathrooms. I've got the pump on, and we'll run the hot until it pretty much converts over to pink right there. And then cold, same thing. Might take a second. There we go. Now we got a little bit of pink coming through there. And then I actually recommend opening up the toilet and running a little bit through there too. And the reason is to have just a little bit of liquid on the seals also there. Oh, emergency bucket right there for down the road. Now, of course, I don't want this to spray everywhere. So I'm going to get this kind of lowish. And again, same thing. Run cold. And now that it's through the system, these should be going pretty quick and cold. Now I don't really like the look of that, so I will be wiping that up, you know, once I'm done. I don't want to leave that in there over the entire winter. So one final step that it wants you to do after you've run hot and cold on inside and outside every faucet, every shower, every toilet, outside line, everything you've done, then it wants you again to use this 45-degree trick right here. And they want you to turn white, blue, and green. And they want you to do it for 10 seconds with the pump running. So white, blue, and green for 10 seconds. We'll call that close enough right there to get it into it. And then they want you to flip the pump off. And then they want you to turn the blue, green, and white back to the Winterize setting. So that would be white down, blue over, green up right there. And then we disconnect this. And when we disconnect this, you know, there's always going to be a little bit of drippage right there. So we'll get some cloth just to try and keep it clean. And I'm leaving my hose in the thing to hopefully have it drain back into the bucket and save some of this for next time. So yeah, just a little bit, nothing crazy. So easy to wipe it up. Again, the whole reason why I've had this is kind of sitting down in the catch tray the whole time. So that's all the manual says to do. That's how to winterize a Nautilus P1. Again, we did it on a 311 BHS. Other winterization tips after this would be to pull your batteries. Don't let your batteries sit out in the cold all winter long. Fully charge them up, put them in your garage, put them in your house somewhere, something like that. Don't leave them in the camper. It'll really hurt the life of them. And then, of course, obviously pull the slides back in, and then it's, you know, do you cover it or not, or do you store it inside, or that sort of thing. But that's it for winterizing with the Nautilus P1. Thanks for watching.